Hey guys, what's up, Cardfight here, and today I'm here with a Sealed Dragon deck profile. Now this is the final deck for the contest winners for the giveaway that I hosted quite a while back, but I had a lot of other deck profiles I want to get out of the way first, so here is the Sealed Dragon deck, finally. So let's get right into the deck. So for the starting Vanguard, we're running Terry Cross. Terry Cross is the Sealed Dragon starting Vanguard, and his skill is +1, Sealed Dragon unit, or Sealed Dragon card. And then move this card into Soul. If you have a corduroy Vanguard, you can choose from your opponent's rear guards and retire it. And then look at the top 4 cards of your deck. And your opponent look at the top 4 cards of the deck and they choose a grade 2 amongst them and call it to your rear guard circle. So you can get rid of pesky starting Vanguards like this, but the downside is that your opponent might get an extra unit to attack you with the next turn. So it's kind of a double-edged sword, but if they don't get anything at all, then it's a win for you. So next, for the grade 3s, we are running for Gorget. So Gorget is a promo card from way back when. And his skill is Limerick 4. When this card attacks, this unit gets plus 5,000 power for every grade 2 unit your opponent controls. And then if your opponent has two or more grade 2 units on their field, then during this battle this card gets extra critical. So if your opponent has, 2 grade 2s in the front row, he gets 10,000 power and extra critical. It's actually pretty strong. And if they have 3 grade 2s, then you get even more power. And yeah, you can hit stride levels of power, sort of, except with one less drive check. And his secondary skill is +1, and then you can unlock a unit. So it's also kind of good against Link Joker if you need to. Yeah, it's a nice option to have. Next, we are running for Weathercloth. Weathercloth is the break ride for Sealed Dragons, and his skill is when a Kaigero rides on top of this card, then you can give one of your Vanguards plus 10,000 power, and then choose 2 of your opponent's rear guards and retire them. And then your opponent looks at the top 4 cards of their deck and choose 2 grade 2 units from them and call them into separate rear guard circles, and then they shuffle their deck. So it's you remove 2 units on the field, and then they get to look at the top 4 to search for 2 grade 2s. It's pretty good because sometimes when you can't or when if you're playing against Link Joker, for example, and they lock your units for some reason, and you just break right into Gorget, pop 2 of their units, and then +2 to flip 2 of your units. It's actually not bad, and yeah, sometimes that happens, or sometimes your opponent grade locks you or something. We aren't running Seabreeze in this deck because there's no need to run Seabreeze, since we have really powerful grade 3s that fare just fine if we are grade locked. I don't know why your opponent would grade lock you unless they're actually grade stuck, but yeah. Next, we're running 3 Hellfire Sealed Dragon Knights. So skill is once per turn, +1, so +1. If you have a Sealed Dragon Vanguard, you want to pay the cost, or you don't have to pay. You can pay the cost even if you don't have a Sealed Dragon. But I don't know why you would do that. But anyway, skill is during this turn, your opponent's rear guards cannot intercept, and this card gets plus 2,000 power for every grade 2 unit your opponent controls. So if they have 2 units, he gets plus 4,000 power, so he becomes a 13k attacker. Pretty scary. It's okay scary. It's not like the most broken thing in the world, but stopping your opponent from intercepting is actually pretty good. So yeah. So next we are running for Corduroy. Corduroy's skill is +1, Sealed Dragon unit, and when this card is placed on a Vanguard or rear guard circle, you can choose one of your opponent's Kagero Vanguards, or you can, if you have a Kagero Vanguard, sorry, I don't know what I'm saying. You can pay the cost. If you do, choose one of your opponent's rear guards and retire it, and then your opponent looks at the top 4 cards of your deck and searches for a grade 2, and they may call it to a rear guard circle, and then they shuffle their deck. So again, he's actually a pretty nice ride target. If you just write this, and they have an annoying starting Vanguard, then you don't have to put this into the Soul, and then you still have you still have a booster to use. So yeah, he's a pretty good card, and you can give some grade 2s to your opponent, so that's quite nice. He's not as good as he was before now because there's a lot more options for Steel Dragons to make your opponent call Grade 2s, but he is still quite a nice card. He's one of the main cards to help you do it, besides the strides, because a lot of cards in this deck, other cards in this deck, mainly benefits from your opponent having Grade 2, but he helps you actually force your opponent to call some Grade 2s, or give your opponent a chance to call some Grade 2s. Anyway, we're running 2 12k attackers, because 12k attackers are still pretty good early game, so you can call them. You can call them on turn 2. You can smack for 19, possibly, so that you can get some guaranteed damage there, because a lot of times your opponent won't want to drop 15k guard. Next, we are running the new card from GB07, I believe. So, I think her name is Bashila. Her skill is, when this card, or Baritha, yeah. So skill is, when this card's called to a rearguard circle, you can pay the cost, which is Soul Blast 1 Steel Dragon card. And then your opponent can choose to call a Grade 2 unit from their hand. If they do not call a Grade 2 unit to their hand, then you can draw a card. So you call this card, you Soul Blast 1, you ask your opponent, are you going to call one? If they say no, then you draw one. If they do, they called one. She's not super good, but there are times, for example, if your opponent has two Grade 2s on the field already, they might hesitate to call one, so then you just get a +1. So really keep in mind what your opponent has on the field. If they have a Grade 2 and then an empty slot, and then like everything else is like a Grade 1, then it's probably not a good idea to call this card, because they're probably just going to call one, and then you wasted a Soul Blast. But if they have 2 Grade 2s on the field already, then calling him, I don't know, Baritha sounds like a girl's name, but yeah, so calling her might benefit you by giving you a free plus. Well, a Soul Blast, but anyway. So next for the Grade 1s, we are running for Dosskin. Skill of this card is, when an opponent's Grade 2 is called to the rearguard circle, if you have a Steel Dragon Vanguard, you can counter charge 1, and then you can choose when your rearguards, and they get plus 2,000 power for every Grade 2 your opponent controls. She will be really amazing if it's any unit, but since it's any Grade 2 or any rearguard, you can give power to any rearguard, it's not as amazing, because this card does work on your opponent's turn. It just whenever they call Grade 2. So on your opponent's turn, if they call Grade 2, you can counter charge, so then you can use your G Guardian and rip their face off. JK. But it'll be pretty annoying. Alright, next we're running 2 10k attackers, just in case you don't have any. They're pretty good early game, so keep them there. And use it to attack your opponent's Grade 2 9ks. Next, we are running the card from GBD03, I believe. Oh shoot, GB03, yeah. Gary Surge. So what this card does is count +1 when this card boosts. If you have a Steel Dragon Vanguard, you pay the cost. If you do, your opponent can't. During this battle, all your opponent's units can't intercept, and then for every Grade 2 they have, the boosted unit gets plus 2,000 power. So it can, at least if you do use a skill, your opponent, it'll be a 9k booster, so it works very well with a 12k attacker. You'll hit with 21. And yeah, the only reason why we are only running 2 of these now is because this exists and these exist, so the use for this is not as necessary. There are times when you do need this, because you don't have this to give power, this to stop your opponent from intercepting, but yeah, it's still a nice card to have. If you don't want to run the 10k attackers, you can run more of these if you want, but I kind of like the 12k attackers just for early game. Since this deck does do the most work early game. Next, running 2 Stride Fodders. There's a lot of great ones that run in this deck, so Strike Fighters don't really have too much space for it, but running 2 is fine. Purple Guards, we're running 4 Purple Guards. This is the Steel Dragon Purple Guards, just in case you ride into this. You do need Steel Dragon Soul Blast, so if you do ride into this, it's good. If you ride into this, it's not so good, because you won't get to Soul Blast it, but it's fine. Soul Blasting for this card, mainly. This card, I believe it's not restricted, so yeah, it's fine. Alright, let's move on to triggers. So, running 8 crit. This trigger helps you counter charge, so it's nice. And then running this draw trigger, which helps you soul charge, which is also nice. And running heal triggers, because heal triggers are heal triggers. Now let's move on to the G zone. Right, for the G zone, we're running 4 Cross Origin. So this is the Steel Dragon Stride. So his skill is Class 1, G flip 1 card from G zone. And sorry. If you have a heart with Steel Dragon, for every copy of Cross Origin you have on your face up in your G zone, you can choose up to one of your opponent's rear guards and retire it, and then your opponent reveals the top 4 cards of your deck and chooses a grade 2 among them for each unit put to the drop zone with this card's effect. And then your opponent calls them into separate open rear guard circles, and then they shuffle their deck. If your opponent has 2 or more grade 2 rear guards, then this card gets extra critical. So if you retire 3, they still only get to check 4. So it's actually quite nice. And they are forced to call. They are forced to call with this card skill, unlike with corduroy and whatnot. So since it is revealed, instead of your opponent gets to search for look at the top 4. Anyway, now we're running 2 Titan, mainly just to continue the crit pressure. We don't really need to run 4 of this card because there's other cards I want to run. This card's mainly only here for the crit. So he gets a crit when he just gets it when he uses skill. But you need to be blazing. No, he doesn't need to be blazing. He just gets it. So yeah, it's good. Next, we're running 4 novellas because this deck sort of lacks a finisher. So we're running 4 of these just to guard restrict. This deck struggles with late game. So running these helps the deck a lot. Because even if your opponents have a lot of cards in the hand, if they don't have a lot of triggers to guard with, then they're still probably gonna die, since they can't call grade 1s. Alright, next we're running 1 Dragnewt, just because it's Dragnewt. You can use them as a first strike if your opponent has like nothing on the field. Just to flip one of these so that you can flip 2 of them next turn, or flip another one next turn and kill 2. Or you can flip this if you want. I don't know why you would do that, but most of the time you're gonna flip Cross Origin. But Cross Origin isn't PV restricted, so if you want to, it's most of the time you want to use him. So for the G Guardians, we are running 1 of the hand swap, 1 screw, 1 Orb Protect, or Ajiru Obu Dragon. So the Vargas Collection 1. Then 2 Denial Griffins, because Denial Griffin is a good card. So yeah, that's pretty much it for this deck. It's a fun deck. I'm not running Dismal in this deck because I'd rather have ditch useless cards and potentially draw a better card than to have Dismal protecting my rear guards that aren't super useful. Debatably, this guy is useful, but sometimes if you run out of cost, he's not that great either. So I'd rather just ditch a card, draw a card. You can run Dismal instead if you want, but yeah, that's pretty much it for this deck profile. Thanks for watching, guys. Sorry if I brain farted more than I usually do, but I'm not feeling too well today. But yeah, I'll see you guys. I'll see you guys later. This is Kartaku. Bye.